Hi, everybody. Welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And I'd like to welcome you to my video tutorial. Today, we're making this a really adorable little backpack that's just perfect for back to school. And in fact, I shared it as part of the Stampin' Dreams blog hop today that the theme was back to school. I don't have a lot of stamp sets that are appropriate for back to school, so I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. But we made a little purse for a team event. And I thought, well, I could adjust the sizes of that to make a backpack. And then I also noticed that the Peaceful Cabin Designer Series paper that is available in the July to December mini catalog has this really pretty buffalo check design in smoky slate and white. And I thought, well, that's perfect for a backpack. So that's kind of how this project came to be. So if it's the first time you're joining me on YouTube, welcome. And if it's not your first time, welcome back. Hope you'll take the time to subscribe so you'll get notified when I do my upcoming video tutorials or when I go live on YouTube. All right, let's get started with the backpack. I'm going to switch over to my desktop. All right, here is this backpack. I thought it was adorable when I finished it. I'm not usually one that does a lot of three-dimensional projects, so I was really excited when I got this one finished. So you can open it. I've used little Velcro dots that I got at the dollar store to close it. And you could fill it with chocolate or a little note, or it would be perfect to put in somebody's backpack going off to school. So let me start. All of the written instructions and measurements for this project will be on my blog, and the link to my blog will be underneath this video. So if you miss out as I'm going through, you can always find it on my blog. Okay, so I've got a piece of basic black cardstock that is 3 3/4 by 11. I'm just gonna open up my trimmer, and you're going to score it at 3 1/4, score it, and then 4 1/2, and then 8 inches, and then 9 inches. Okay, so that's the main body of it, and we will put this together. That's all I need my trimmer for. Then you've got a piece of designer series paper that is cut 6 1/2 by 3 3/4, and it is going to go on the top part. So you've got, it's going to be hard for you to see the score lines, but I've got, this was the way we scored it. We scored it at 3 1/4, and then 4 1/2, and then 8 and 9. This piece is going to go at the top of it. So you've got this 1 inch. So this is the smaller fold is here at this end, and that's the piece that you want this to go over. So when you adhere your designer series paper to this main base, you're going to have this is 3 1/4, so you're going to have 4 1/2 inches of basic black showing. And you can just use Stampin' Seal, or if you want to use multi-purpose adhesive glue, that actually works really well as well. So I'm just going to use Stampin' Seal. The downside to Stampin' Seal, and I should know this by now, is that it's not as forgiving as the multi-purpose adhesive glue, but I'm going to go with it since that's what I've got on here. So you're going to butt this right up against that 4 1/2 inch fold line and align it so that it covers the basic black. All right, so then you want to take your bone folder and just give it a good crease on all of the score lines. Even though you've got designer series paper over the ones up at the top, you still can, you can see the score line on the back side, and you can still give it a good crease, and it works really well. Okay, so the next thing, I actually cut a little flap, and I've used the basic border dies. So there is this great die there, it's double stitching. And so you can use the die. Now, what I want to do is, I've got a ruler here. Oopsie, don't do that. Okay, there we go. So I'm measuring across. So this is 3 3/4. And so half of 3 3/4, let's see, is 1.5. So it is 1 7/8. So I'm just going to put a little mark at 1 7/8. And I'm going to bring in my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. Hopefully you'll be able to see. So I'm going to just put this in place. Now take the, it's not showing, let's see if I can get it up. There we go. So take this die and put the point right on that 1 7/8 mark and roughly line it up. Now I'm going to use some Post-it note tape. You could use Post-it notes. And I'm just going to hold that in place because I don't want it to shift as I run this through my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. Oopsie. Just want to make sure it's not gonna, there we go. It's going to fit. And so, there we go. I'm gonna move this off to the side. All right, so then you can gently pull the die off the tape. That die back in its envelope before I lose it. All right, so now you've got a nice flap end for your piece. Now I am missing some designer series paper. So you have another piece of designer series paper that is cut 3 1/4 by 3 3/4 that will fit on the bottom part. So now that you've got that cut, I just find that sometimes if you're running everything through and it's so thick, so you can put this on before if you want as well. All right, so we're just going to adhere that there. So now you've got your main shape to your backpack. You just need the sides. Now, what you want to do for the sides is you've got 2 pieces of basic black cardstock, and they are cut 4 inches by 2 1/4, and you're going to score them at a 1/2 inch on 3 of the sides. So just line up the side at the 1/2 inch mark on your trimmer, turn it 90 degrees and score again, and 90 degrees and score again. Okay, and I've already done it to the other one. So now you've got scoring here, across the bottom and up this side. And the other thing you want to do is put a little mark at the halfway. So this is 2 1/4. So at 1 1/8, you want to put a little mark on both. So this is on the end that is not scored. And then from that mark to the corner where that intersection is, where the 2 score lines, you are going to score. So up like that, and then turn it and do it from that score line, or that mark you put at 1 7/8 down to the corner score. So you end up with, I don't know that you can actually see that. So you end up with a bit of a triangle. So these are the score lines that I have just made. And this will just help it fold on itself. Okay. Okay, and we're going to do that on this one as well. So again, from that little mark to the corner on both sides. Okay. Now, to make this fit, you're going to need your paper snips. So you're going to cut this corner, the two corners off. So the squares that you have created where the intersection of your score lines down the sides and along the bottom, you're going to cut that off. So you're going to end up with a piece that looks like that. And you're going to end up with actually two pieces that look like this. Okay. Now you want to use tear and tape adhesive for this because you need it to adhere really well. So kind of just give them fold the flaps in. These pieces, when this folds together like this, are going to fit into the sides like this. Now we're going to trim this a little bit, but so they will go in the sides like this. So you're going to put tear and tape adhesive along these flaps. So if you do one and then the other, because if you're like me, you kind of have to think about what side to put your tear and tape adhesive on. I'm terrible at figuring this out. So we'll do one and then the other. So we'll put tear and tape adhesive down on each of the flaps. Like that. So the first one actually goes together a little easier because it's not open. So you can take, and it's going to go on this. This is a 1 1/4 inch. 1 1/4 inch. So you're going to put this on what will be the bottom is where you want to adhere to. So open it up and line this up with the edge. So that will adhere it to the bottom. And then bring up this one side and adhere. Line it. There we go. And then the same on the back of your. So now we've got this. We're going to trim this a little bit to make it not so high because you've got the front of it is a little bit shorter than the back. Now, this piece, you're going to do the same with. So again, fold it on it, fold those flaps inward, and it just fit it in. So just make sure you know which way you want it to go. So I'm going to put the tear and tape down each of these sides like that, across the bottom, and then back up this side. Okay. Lost my take your pick tool for a minute. There we go. Okay, and again, oops, this will fit in. It's a little harder to actually do. So if you fold all of this in and tuck it in, you can, I do the bottom first and then one side and then the other. So just kind of take it and align it with the front and the back. There we go. And then where you scored it, we'll just make it so it tucks inwards so that it gives it a bit of a, you know, fold. You can fold it in. Now, your top and bottom, or your back and front, so this back side is a 1/4 of an inch longer. So you can just take and trim that off, and then at an angle, just cut up towards the corner so that you now have this on an angle. It's kind of hard to see. So I just take and cut this extra flap on the front, that 1/2-inch spot that you adhered it on, and then at an angle cut up towards the corner so that you cut off those little extra pieces. All right, getting there. Okay. All right, so to make the holes to put your ribbon in, I just used a hole punch. So I went in about, let's see, about 3/4 of an inch. You could go in a little bit more if you wanted to. Let's see. Come on, for some reason it's not wanting to cut. Let's do it this way. There we go. So I'm just cutting it. This is a regular hole punch. And I'm just cutting a hole for the ribbon. There we go. So I've got the holes for the ribbon. And I'm just feeding the ribbon down through. Let's see how long I want this. It's probably more than I want. So you can make this whatever you want as far as a flap goes. Feed your ends down through. So I did get it. So I'm gonna make it just a little bit shorter than that, like that. It's just kind of what a flap would be, or a handle would be. And I'm just using some Stampin' Seal to adhere my ribbon, and then I'll trim off the ends. And again, some Stampin' Seal to hold this ribbon in place, this side of the ribbon in place. And now I've got a little handle for the top of my backpack, because they all seem to have handles on them. Probably not this big, but anyway. Now, a few things left to do. I added some brads. So I'm going to just take my piercing mat and my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm just going to poke a hole right on the point. So right on the point, just about, maybe 1/2 inch or so up from there. And the same on this end, just up from there, off to the side a little bit. And we're going to use 3 of the round and square brads. So I'm going to use these square brads in black. And I'm just going to put a brad in each of the holes that I poked. If you have lots of the little tiny ones, you could actually do it like it was design all the way down, but I don't have enough of those. Okay, so now I'm just going to close these. Now the backs on these brads are quite long, so you can just take your paper snips. Be really careful because the ends tend to fly, but you can cut them if you want to, or you can just turn them so that they're not poking out. But you can cut these. The metal that they're made from isn't that strong, but just be really careful so that you don't have the ends go flying. So that just adds the little bit of detail with those. Now, as I said, I got some little Velcro buttons from the dollar store, and they've got adhesive on the back. So I'm just going to take and stick one there, and then the other side of it I'm going to stick on to it so that I know it's kind of in the right spot. And then I'm just going to kind of put my flap where I want it to go and press down so that it comes off, and then I can press it into place. So that's got, now I've got a Velcro closure. You could use magnets if you wanted to. I just find the magnets I have are so strong, they were pulling the cardstock off, And so they weren't working very well. So the Velcro works better. Now, last step. I have a piece of real red cardstock that is cut 3 1/4 by, what did I cut this? 1 1/4, and a piece of basic black that is cut 3 inches by 1 inch. And I've got the Make It Happen stamp set. And so the sentiment says, it's a great day for great things, which seems kind of a good thing for going back to school. So I'm going to use Versamark, and I'm going to stamp this in Versamark. If you have craft ink, you could use craft ink, but I'm going to use Versamark, and then I'm going to use some, get this in place, some white embossing powder. So I'm going to heat emboss my sentiment just to make it pop. Oh, and then I got a bit of a shadow. So we'll just take my Take Your Pick tool and scratch off the embossing folder, or the embossing powder. All right, get that out of the way and see if I can get my embossing powder back in here without spilling it. I already did that this morning. Didn't go well. All right. I really need to change. I need to put them into some plastic containers. Probably would be much better. All right. Okay, so now I'm just going to get my heat tool. Now this is hot. You want to use the highest setting on this. So I'm just hold it in place. I'm using my Take Your Pick tool to hold it down. Hold your heat tool in place until you start to see the powder melt, and it will start to go shiny and lose the dull matte finish. And that's when you can then start moving it across your sentiment so that the whole thing gets embossed. There we go. Doesn't take long once it starts. Let that cool for just a minute. I'm going to put this on with dimensionals. So I'm going to put dimensionals on the back while that's cooling. When I have a big piece of a label, I stagger my dimensionals so that it doesn't wobble. Sometimes you find that it wobbles. So we're going to put this on, and this will just go down on your front. Open it up, press those dimensionals in place. And then you could either use Stampin' Seal or whatever your adhesive is, or you could pop this up with dimensionals again. There we go. All right, so that's the backpack. I just think they're so cute. So you could take and put, I don't know if I've got some candy, but you could put some chocolate in there. You could put a little note. You could put a little surprise for whoever's getting this. Just kind of a really cute, fun thing to put into their backpack for returning to school, or actually at any time. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions as you're making this, or questions about the measurements, please leave a comment either on my blog or under this video. I'm happy to answer them and help you with it, because I know that sometimes it's hard to see what I'm doing and hard to, I'm probably going quite fast. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions if you have them. So thanks again for joining me. As I said before, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll get notified the next time I post a video. Thanks for joining me. Happy stamping.